working on doors and finishing the windshield skylight installation. I got that header piece bonded in yesterday when it was cold. I had to improvise a little bit to get it to be warm enough. I did want to finish drilling that row of holes across the top of the skylight into that header piece. Rather than me reading the manual, I'm going to grab my scale, run on down to Nate's hangar, measure his airplane, and come back. I did, sweet. I'm just here to measure this row of holes. Go make them happen on my airplane. Got what I need, 10 holes, about 3.5 inches apart. It's like an inch and a quarter from this end. So I'll get those drilled up. Anyway, thanks to Nate always for letting me get into his hangar and do stuff like this. Man, that's a nice prop. All right, working on a few things today. One of them is obviously fitting up these door frames. Got a couple issues, we'll get back to that. Main thing I'm working on right now is I just bonded in this header piece with the acrylic strip on top of it. In the video before I talked about how this is actually the first step you're supposed to do. I didn't. But I've got this piece of aluminum extrusion clamped in place across the top of the butt ribs. And what I'm doing right now is it's below freezing outside, so I have my infrared heater pumping a little bit of warm air in here. More correctly, it is warming the air inside here, and then I'm trapping it with this moving blanket so that this adhesive kicks off right. And this is high sol that I have mixed with, the manual says microballoons. I use a combination of microballoons and flocks. Microballoons does nothing to add strength. It just bulks it up, so in theory this aluminum piece isn't contacting the steel. I did grind away the powder coating, not all the way, so there really is no steel to aluminum contact anyway. But I'm pretty confident I've got a good bond surface because I squeezed out a bunch of the high sol down below. Then I came back and cleaned it up with alcohol and rags. So I'm gonna let that kick off. In the meantime, what I did is I'm setting up these door frames. I currently have this polycarbonate sheet. I thought I had bubble windows, but apparently I'm not that cool. So I did order some from Deborah yesterday at Kitfox. She was super helpful. I actually think I need to call her back. She was asking if I had clear smoke. And now that I'm looking at this, I think this probably is a light smoke, so I should probably fix that order. I did test fit these aluminum closeout pieces. I've done nothing other than just shove them on. The manual talks about how you're going to have to fit these in here, and then it says reshape them so that they fit the openings. In my experience, you have to do quite a bit of encouraging of 4130 pieces to get them to move very far. It's very springy material, which is why it makes a great frame for a bicycle and obviously an airplane. Anyway, this one is fitting tight. It fits tight up here, and it's riding a little bit right here. So I think I'm gonna have to grind down the welds, which means I'm gonna get to repaint these. One on the left side does drop into place. Anyway, so this one, I'm hoping I can get the clearance I need by just filing off this bead up on the corner, maybe a little bit on this side. Worst case, I would have to find somebody where I could cut this 4130 frame, bring it in a little bit, re-weld it, in which case I'm along for the powder coating ride anyway. So to keep myself busy, I got out the hardware for the heavy cutout of this stock, and then the hinges I'll show you in a minute, and then these pieces are all deburred and ready to go. The hinges, had to go old school, mark them out, drill them. This is a number 12 drill bit. Now I need to countersink these 100 degrees. I don't have a generic 100-degree countersink tool. I only have the micro stop tools, which have number 30 and number 40. I don't have number 12, so I'm going to have to get creative or just get a generic 100-degree cone. But I'm going to have to order that from Aircraft Spruce. So that'll be next time. So using the measurements from Nate's airplane, one he's building, 3.5 inches between all the holes, and it started 1.25 inches from the end of the header angle. So I had left the tape out of the way so I could see that edge, measure to 1.25 inches to 3.5, and then I confirmed on the far end that it's 1.25 inches. It's within 30 seconds to 1/16, so good enough. So when I did these A-pillars, I used two different drill bits. I used a number 30 high-speed steel to drill. Once I broke through the steel, I stopped, switched over to the acrylic bit, 1/8, and drilled the rest of the way. This will be the opposite because I'm drilling through the acrylic first. So I'll drill through acrylic. Once I break through that, I'll switch off 1/8" high-speed steel through the aluminum, and I'll click on my way out to these outer corners. And worth mentioning, of course, because this spark carry-through is a critical structure, when you drill through the aluminum, you should have something backing it in here so that you don't do any damage to this tube. Alright, so that went quick. Again, thanks to being able to look at Nate's airplane, just takes measurements, come down here, transfer them, make a mess. Let's see, so that's my acrylic 1/8" high-speed steel, number 30, which of course a tiny bit bigger. And then this was a really good idea to be able to stick that underneath there. You can see I touched it several times with the tip of the drill. We didn't scratch that up and have to worry every time I'm pulling G's that I taco my cabin structure. And through cheap editing tricks, I'll be able to pull this tape off. Alright, there it is. Drilled up all the way across. I'll need to square up this back edge. I still need to sand these edges with 60 grit to get rid of all the scratches, which are places cracks can start around the edges. Still need to bore the hole for the rear spar pins, bolts actually. I still need to put the nuts on and the cotter pins. I still have to trim this back edge of my windshield. See, that's how that all washed out. And then I have this chip, I think I referred to it before, from somebody else handling this windshield. I did just drill this hole. These are the two back ones. Those are for the rear spar pin bolts. And this one, and guess what? I got a crack. So I'm going to step drill this up so it's large enough. Hopefully I take care of that without ruining my windshield. And if it does crack worse, then I was supposed to cut this out. Anyway, all right, so it's trimmed. I don't know how in the short period of time since I was last cutting on this stuff, I forgot about the weird smell when you're cutting acrylic. All right, so a little update. Where I couldn't get my door frames to fit in all the way up the top. Left side's fine, right side is tight, just up here in this region. This thought occurred to me yesterday that the door frame doesn't necessarily have to fit all the way into the hole, because that actually fits about 90% of the way before it gets tight up here. So I asked Nate if his doors were installed. He's drilled them up and done the fitting, but then he went back to his hanger and hung a door, and here's what we discovered. So what has to happen is you have to accommodate the thickness of this P-seal, they call it, which is the gasket between the outer frame of the fuselage and the door. That means that this edge of the door frame can't actually be flush with this without crushing that P-seal to zero, which isn't going to happen. So what Nate had told me he did was he used some of this scrap, which everybody should have some of this, and if not, just fake it. And he made some shims, and this represents what the squished P-seal would look like. So that left me in a position where I just need to clamp my door frames so that it is flush like that. You know, with the little step created like that, this door frame will actually work, right side and left. I don't have to do any cutting and welding, so pretty happy with that. All right, so the other thing Nate and I talked about was these closeouts and how they relate to where you drill up for the doors. And then by that I mean, you drill up those door hinges on these tabs right here. And in his case, he notched out around them, but I don't see a reason to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill up my hinges with the doors, and then I'm just going to put these back on. So what I did is I folded the wings for that Sharpie line where I trimmed them, so they'll match the edge of this butt rib. So then I'll back drill through those tabs, and the hinges will mount to the outside, and that should look pretty clean, at least in my head. Okay, so my turtle deck is roughed in, and I mean rough. It's my bubble Lexan window. Probably regret tearing that stuff loose. Anyway, I set up a hole pattern around here, drilled through the aluminum and the acrylic. I used some 440 hardware I had laying around and some plain nuts on the back side. Nothing is torqued or sealed or anything else. I did have to use a piece of aluminum angle to stiffen up this front edge. The old Series 5 manual has you run a piece of L extrusion along these edges. I don't think I'll need one at the back, but I will need one on the side because otherwise it gets this dip in here. Kind of has one now. And let me take it off and show you how I had to fit it. All right, here it is, pulled off the airplane. Here's that piece of aluminum extrusion. I just had it laying around. Made a whole pattern, and to help out the OCD people, I made sure the whole pattern was exactly the same. I'm going to come back and rivet this row, but I don't have my prop rivet squeezer here with me. It's at my home, 180 miles away. I could use real rivets, but I don't have any number 4s. I have a bunch of number 3s. The number 4s I have are countersink, and this is thin aluminum. Lots of reasons why that wouldn't work. Anyway, so the first thing you have to do to fit this up is you get that tucked up underneath that lip left at the back of the windshield. You have to cut these notches right here. For that, I went the paper doll route. So I grabbed a piece of cardboard. See where I changed my mind. I originally made that mark, which I thought was going to fit in there. Again, sorry about the autofocus mode. This is where we're supposed to jam the edge of the windshield. Turtle deck. So that's what this simulates right here. And I was trying to find the rear spar carry through. Then I came and transferred that shape to the aluminum and test fit it, and it was not big enough. So I ended up, to make it clean, I used a circle template available at your local art store and enlarged this until it did fit, and then ultimately I had to come back and choose a larger radius that moved this edge down, which is in this case up. So I got it jammed up underneath here, and that took a little bit of finessing trying to make it fit right. And one of the places you have to look is back here to make sure that it is sitting side to side the way it's supposed to. Then the next piece I had to trim. A long time ago I noticed that I think it went that way. It's supposed to be the one from the other side. Anyway, there's a piece here which thankfully was already damaged, so I'm going to trim that off. I just made a line along the edge of the door here and trim that. It's going to need some retrimming now that I've made a little bit more space. So that notch and the corner cut off, and the back edges fit up so that they're all square. And I took some 2-inch tape and I secured it along here. Now, so I'll lift this and mess everything up. There are some tabs for cam locks inside here. So with this one drilled, what I needed to do is restrain this. See what I'm doing right there? I'm getting it so that it sits flat. And I used a big fat piece of 2-inch tape right there again to hold everything up. Then I could use a regular number 30 drill bit, let's see, up here on the most forward of these tabs. Short bit was fine for that one. Had to use the extended one for the third position back. So there's all 4 clecos on each side. I had to put it in order for cam locks. Number 1, I think I need about 30 for this build. There's going to be another row that goes along the back, common to that extrusion, which you rivet and bond in place. Series 5 only. It is tedious getting the turtle deck shoved up underneath the back edge of the Skylight. I can see why people do hinges, but I really don't see why they do them in the middle. Seems to me like I could convert this into some kind of a hinge. This would be an arched slot in a spot you can't see yet. This is the end of the torque tube for the flaperons, which are in the extreme stall position. Yes, I'm kidding. I have them on here so that I can project that onto this surface, and then I can create an arc slot, and then I have to put on those strake pieces still. My door frames are at the powder coaters, being made black, same black as my instrument panel. So there it is, turtle deck is located. I think the hard part's out of the way. Now I get to order the cam lock fasteners and have Nate show me how to install those. So whereas I did not get much done on the Kitfox in this break, got to go to sunny Mexico. Next month I have pretty much the entire 2 weeks off to work on this plane, getting the oil shutoff kit installed, and putting a center console back in with the comm radio and transponder. So this thing's actually much closer to ready to fly than my Kitfox is. I keep estimating another 1 to 2 months on the Kitfox before I'm ready for inspection. I need to make those arrangements and need to start completing some paperwork. That noise you may or may not hear is the banging of the hangar doors because it's pretty breezy here. Anyway, more to come. Flying season is here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.